Monday, December 16th. My mood is festive but fragile. I check my supplies. Flashcards, stamps, emergency phonics. I have it all. Plus the most important part, i.e. my brain, because today was my final attempt to teach Christmas English before the holidays officially swallowed the school whole. The plan was ambitious. Vocabulary, pronunciation, sentence structure, festive, fun. The result was movement, shouting, stamping, borderline crowd control. But learning did happen somewhere. Phase 1, the setup, flashcards and false hope. I entered the classroom armed with Christmas flashcards, Jolly Phonics gestures in my head, a box of coloured stamps. Big mistake. The moment the children saw the stamps, their pupils dilated. One whispered, "Stickers." "No," I said, "stamps." Collective gasp. The Italian teacher narrowed her eyes. "Solo se lavorano bene." I nodded. Discipline pact signed. Phase 2. The sentence of the day appears. I wrote one thing on the board and nothing else. It is a... I underlined it. This, I said, is the magic sentence. A child immediately shouted, "Magia!" Italian teacher, "Silenzio!" I held up the Christmas tree flashcard. Flashcard number 1, Christmas tree. "Repeat after me," I said gently. "It is a Christmas tree." What I got? Z a Christmas tree. I tried again. Same result. I felt my eye twitch. So I stopped. Emergency switch. Jolly Phonics takes over. I stepped away from the blackboard like it had personally offended me. "No writing," I announced. Immediate attention. "We use sounds." I did the mouse action for it. They screamed, "Et!" "No," I whispered. Small sound. Mouse again. "It." I buzzed for is. Children buzzed back, aggressively. Italian teacher, "Basta api." Then the lazy shrug for A. They mimicked my exhaustion. Finally, together, "It is a Christmas tree." Correct sounds, wrong stress, beautiful result. Stamp protocol introduced. I held up the stamp slowly. "If you say the sentence correctly," I said, "you get a stamp in your diary." As I opened the diary on today's page of the toddler in front of me. Silence, fear, hope. Stamp economy activated. "Okay, take your diaries and open on today," I request, as I gesture to the diary and show the page. After some confused looks, I do the gesture of getting with my hands. Thanks God Italians communicate so much with gestures and have wonderful eye-connecting skills. They all jump for their diaries and scramble to find the page. Individual attempt number 1. I pointed to one of the brightest girls. She froze. She whispered, "Eat." I shook my head gently. Mouse. Buzz. Shrug. She tried again. "It is a Christmas tree." Smiling broadly, I show her the different stamp sand. "What's your favourite colour?" I ask as I push the stamps towards her, gently asking her to choose. "Pink," she whispers, pointing at the one in questions. "I like the pink stamp." I gently ask her to repeat. "I like pink stamp." Close enough. So I gesture once again for her diary and fill the page up with pink. She's been really good. The class lost control. Io, Io, Io! Stamp, stamp, stamp! Italian teacher. Seduti subito! I just look at each and every one of them in the eye as I gesture. You speak English, I give you stamps. Hoo-ha! Flashcard number 2, Christmas ball. And so it began. Gestures, jolly phonics, and coloured stamps. After asking some other students the same flashcard, I decide it's time to pass on to the next one. I held it up. They shouted, Palle! Italian teacher. Non è palle. I sighed. English, I said slowly. Ball. Mouse, buzz, shrug. One brave child. It is a Christmas ball. Green stamp, a page full of them. Visibility increased demand. Children waving diaries in the air like concert lighters. Flashcard number 3. Candle. This, I said, is a candle. They said, candy! No, I replied, no sugar. Mouse, buzz, shrug. One child corrected himself. It is a candle. Page full of stamps again. Stamp economy collapsed into chaos. One child tried to physically climb towards my desk. Italian teacher. Fermo. Torna al posto. Flashcard number 4. Angel. It is an angel, I said, hugging myself. They're going to be learning about the double sound of the vowels soon, so I might as well start inserting the gesture for A of angel, which is different from the A of apple. So I took it upon myself to invent gestures for the double sounds, doctoring the tool with a personal touch. Children hugged themselves. One child whispered, like my peluche when I sleeps. I ignored this. One girl stood proudly. It is an angel. Perfect. Gold stamp plus page full of other coloured stamps. Better get them to understand that perfection is appreciated. I should not have brought gold stamps. Mid-lesson crisis. The stamp rush. Suddenly, diaries slapped onto my desk, children lining up without permission, elbows everywhere. I raised my voice. No English, no stamps. Instant compliance. Fear works. Flashcard number 5. Santa Claus. After going through all the flashcards, I had the brilliant idea of checking just how many of these words they had memorized. So, interrogation, I say on a serious note, and all hands shoot up. One child shouted, "It is Babbo Natale!" I allowed it emotionally, but not pedagogically. Wait, first I ask you the question, then you answer, I say, as I choose a card from the stack and show it to the toddler. It is Santa Claus. I take another card and the kid gets it right again. Then another and another. So, I say to myself, all it takes is a little reward. And the lesson went, with all the children having learned the Christmas vocabulary, but above all, basic English language structure, hidden in plain sight. Yes, I mentally say to myself as I throw a fist in the air. The Italian teacher intervenes. She stepped forward. Uno alla volta, she said calmly. Power, authority, respect. I nodded again. Stamp capitalism regulated. Final round, bonus chance. One last flashcard, I said. Christmas lights. A child whispered, I know. He stood up, did the mouse, buzzed, shrugged, said, It is a Christmas light. Technically singular, emotionally perfect. Rainbow stamp, applause, end of lesson reflection. Today I learned, phonetics need bodies, not boards. Stamps motivate faster than grades. Order exists, briefly. Children learn best when learning feels like winning. Tomorrow is revision. Today was Christmas. And Christmas, like my classroom, is loud, chaotic, joyful, and absolutely unforgettable. All in all, 15 classes later. Friday evening, December. Brain, festive mush. Legs, decorative only. Voice, somewhere between Mariah Carey and a foghorn. All in all, I write in my journal, if anyone were to ask me how many times a human being can teach the same Christmas lesson before their mind quietly disconnects and wanders off to a beach somewhere warm, I can now give a numerically precise answer. 15. 15 classes. 15 versions of It is a Christmas Tree. 15 rounds of flashcards, phonics, buzzing noises, mouse fingers, stamp-related hysteria, and spontaneous dancing. And yet, astonishingly, it worked. The same lesson, rewritten 15 times. On paper, it was one lesson. In reality, it became 15 subtly different adaptations, ranging from first-year elementary children, whose chief learning objective in life appears to be removing shoes at random moments, to fifth-year students who can already sense when an adult is bluffing and will absolutely exploit it. The vocabulary stayed more or less the same. Christmas tree, Christmas balls, candles, angels, Santa Claus, lights. But the approach changed constantly. With the younger ones, English had to be physical. Jumping, waving, miming, chanting, stamping, dancing. With the older ones, it had to become structured without killing the joy. Still playful, still active, but with more focus on sentence accuracy, rhythm, and confidence. And threading through all of it, like festive tinsel holding together a barely stable structure, was one glorious sentence. It is a grammar. Actual grammar, happening naturally, without tears. Pronunciation. Or why I abandoned the blackboard entirely. If there is one thing these 15 lessons have reinforced with almost religious clarity, it is this. Pronunciation does not live on the blackboard. Italian learners, children especially, do not need more written correction, red pen, or underlining. What they need is permission to make sounds. My personal adaptation of Jolly Phonics, not as a rigid system but as a toolbox, I watched something extraordinary happen across all age groups. Students stopped being afraid of English sounds. They felt the sounds, they moved with them, they owned them, and, miracle of miracles, they remembered them. By the end of the week, even my quietest students could confidently say, "It is a Christmas tree." No flinching, no whispering, no apologetic glance towards the Italian teacher, just saying it. The Stamp Economy and the Psychology of Success. I would like to formally apologise to anyone who believes stamps are a minor motivational tool. They are not. They are currency. The coloured stamp system, red, green, blue, gold, did something profoundly important. It shifted the focus away from what students get wrong to what they get right. And this, I have come to realise, is the real revolution. Italian English teaching, in my experience, has a tragic tendency to operate like airport security. Everything you attempt is suspicious and you will be stopped. My approach, whether consciously rebellious or simply instinctive, does the opposite. We celebrate attempts. We reward effort. We correct gently, physically, playfully. And the results are undeniable. Being that teacher. There is a moment, always slightly awkward, when Italian English teachers realise that their students pronounce better, build basic structures more confidently, speak with less fear, and suddenly they look at me with a glint in their eye. I recognise that look now. It says, what happens when my students become better than me? The answer, of course, is simple and quietly radical. I don't care. I am letting children speak without fear. I am not humiliating them for mistakes. I am not interrupting every sentence to fix every error. I am not demanding perfection before communication. And yes, this sometimes means the children sound better than the adults correcting them, which is uncomfortable, but not my problem. I am being paid to get these students to learn the English language. If you think of it, I have a job because they can't do theirs. Fear, the real enemy. If there is one fundamental barrier to English learning in Italy, it is not grammar. It is fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of being corrected publicly. Fear of sounding stupid. So what do Italian students do? They say nothing. Students are not born like this. They aren't born hating English, refusing it and shying away from it. They get to this stage because something or someone happens. My system, stamps, movement, dance breaks, phonics, exaggerated praise, exists for one purpose only: to remove that fear. Once that happens, learning accelerates naturally. The boombox experiment. After the first lesson, sensing energy levels dipping and morale wobbling, principally my own, I made a bold pedagogical move. I brought in my portable boombox. I started the lesson with Christmas carols. I ended it with, "All I want for Christmas is you." We danced, briefly, chaotically, joyfully. And suddenly, transitions became easier. Attention sharpened. English felt alive. It turns out that nothing says safe learning environment quite like a teacher all dressed in red, right down to her shoes, jumping badly to Mariah Carey at 8:30 a.m. Who knew? Sure, I didn't get to teach them the difference between Christmas Eve, which is the day before Christmas, or Christmas Day. I didn't get to tell them about Boxing Day and why it's called that. That it comes from the time in which servants got boxes filled with leftovers as thanks for their service during the year and practically their only day off. that it was a practice linked to the church's alms boxes for the needy and the day off given to staff after working Christmas, that the name has absolutely nothing to do with the sport of boxing, but relates to the container used to gift with, i.e., a box. And since it was easier to broadcast All I Want for Christmas, I didn't get to tell them about the carols and the tradition of going house to house singing joyful songs, or the story of the 12 Days of Christmas that mentions all the traditional tokens of the Christmas holiday in the UK, that it was established by the church to teach illiterate Christians about biblical events and to align with older winter solstice festivals during Sunday school. There was much more that could have been said, of course, but what happened in these lessons is much more important. If we go on working in such a manner, we'll be able to do that next year. If I still have a job in this school, seeing the way the Italian teachers look at me. Final musings. All in all. All in all, my mind is toast. I am bushed, staggered, and operating on festive fumes alone. But I am also something else. Satisfied. Because these students, across 15 classes, learned Christmas vocabulary, correct pronunciation, a functional grammar structure, confidence. They learned by doing. They learned by playing. And this, without question, is the cornerstone of what I now unapologetically call the get-going method. Learning does not begin with perfection. It does not begin with reading and writing, with endless grammar exercises. It begins with listening and copying sounds, and trying to copy those sounds. It begins with making mistakes. It begins with courage. Now my task, slightly terrifying, undeniably exciting, is to adapt this method to higher levels, middle and secondary school, pre-teens and teenagers. Confidence with attitude. But that is another chapter. For now, I close my diary, turn off the boombox, and accept the truth. My students are actually learning English, and that, all in all, is worth every buzzing sound, every stamp-related riot, and every stink-eye look from the staff room. After New Year, we get going again. And Merry Christmas from your exhausted English mother tongue teacher, Ori. Talk to you next year. Questions. Listen to the questions and record your answer on your device. Then listen to yourself speak in English. Don't like your answer? Not to worry. Simply delete and do it again until you're happy with your English. And remember, practice makes perfect. Questions 1 to 10. Literal and detail comprehension 1. On what day and date does the main classroom episode take place? 2. What was the teacher's original plan for the Christmas lesson? 3. Why did the appearance of stamps immediately change the children's behaviour? 4. What sentence did the teacher write on the board and call the magic sentence? 5. How did the children initially pronounce "It is a Christmas tree"? 6. Why did the teacher abandon the blackboard and switch to Jolly Phonics gestures? 7. What rule did the teacher introduce in order to control the stamp chaos? 8. What misunderstanding occurred when the Christmas ball flashcard was shown? 9. Why does the teacher say she should not have brought gold stamps? 10. By the end of the lesson, what had the children learned besides Christmas vocabulary? Questions 11 to 15, inferred meaning and interpretation. 11. Why does the teacher describe stamps as currency rather than a simple reward? 12. What does the Italian teacher's repeated interventions suggest about classroom authority in Italy? 13. Why does the teacher believe pronunciation improves when students use their bodies instead of the blackboard? 14. What does the author mean when she says grammar was hidden in plain sight? 15. Why does the teacher consider fear to be the biggest obstacle to learning English in Italy?